order the regular meeting of the Village Board for Thursday, February 15, 2024. Christie, call the roll. Oh, April 18th. I count on the wrong sheet.
Trustee Husani?
It's been a long day.
Here.
Trustee Gutierrez? Here. Trustee Porter is going to be here in a couple minutes. Trustee Kunkel?
Here.
Trustee Bancole? Here. And Trustee Brigi?
Here.
All right. Nice to see you all. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. We have motion to accept the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second.
Okay, I
Just-
would like to, go ahead. I would like to remove 7A3 and 7A9 from the consent agenda.
Okay.
And I just have one quick edit to 7A1. The minutes in there said that Trustee Lisa Gutierrez said nay. In the roll call, it was meant to say absent. You have the corrected minutes in front of you, and they are now adjusted.
Okay, thank you. We remove two, and Christie, call the roll.
Excellent. Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter? Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Brigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
And Trustee
Trustee
Porter is
Porter?
here. Okay, presentations, proclamation of National Small Business Week. And I will. Oh. I may be a half a bottle off, so busy. No.
All right. We got
Got it. All right. Good evening. I would ask small
Mayor?
business.
Can I have your mic?
Pardon?
Your microphone?
Oh. Well, good evening again. And I'm so glad you're all here. Why don't you come up and join me, because I have proclamations to share with you. And we have this rubber duck here.
You got it.
Hi, hi, hi. The Cairo Center. This is a little special, so I apologize for speaking it. I didn't put the analogy of chiropractors and Cairo together,
Okay.
so I was trying to figure out what the heck that was. So now I know. My fine trustee. Straighten me out, Lisa, thank you. So. That was embarrassing. Oh, you still want me to use the mic? Okay, all right. Whereas small businesses are the backbone of our economy during innovation, creating jobs, and fostering community growth. And whereas small businesses constitute 99% of the businesses in the U.S. And whereas an entrepreneurial spirit exemplified by small businesses, business owners, ignites our nation's and Hanover Park's prosperity, resilience, diversity, and whereas National Small Business Week provides an opportunity to celebrate the contributions of small businesses to the vitality of our nation and our community. Now, therefore, I, Rodney S. Craig, Village President, do hereby proclaim April 28th through May 4th, 2024 as National Small Business Week. Let us join together in honoring and supporting our small businesses, entrepreneurs, and innovators. You're all innovators. Go forward, do good things. During this week, let us patronize local small businesses, celebrate their achievements, and offer our gratitude for their invaluable contributions to our communities and our nations, including you. Let me present you. Here you go. Thank you. Thank you. We'll get it forward together.
I think Manan, you should come join too. You're a Hanover Park small business. Come on, join. This is appreciating small business. That's what it is.
His choice. Okay.
Bloom.
Thank you all. Please.
Now they go to her.
Okay, put the strap in. Okay. Town hall session. We only have Manan?
There's two.
Pardon me?
Did you just put it up there?
Okay. Manan, if you would step up to the microphone. And we all know you, so you can state your name.
I guess for those that don't know me, I guess I own a very small business, Country Style Donuts off Irving Park in Barrington. I've been there for about over 6 years now. So I guess I'm here to plead or ask for help or whatever you want to call it, but recently I received a citation at my business for having cars parked. I'd probably say about 5 cars, give or take maybe. And I found out in March, they gave me 30 days to remove the cars. I removed the cars. I sent a picture to the young Jeremiah and said, hey, I moved the cars. Okay. There was a hearing in April. So I go to the hearing. I did not know I needed an attorney present. So I go to the hearing, and they tell me that I need to pay $8,500. $8,500. Yes. Yes. And that's 630 dozen donuts that I have to sell. And that's at retail. That's at retail. And I'm a poor guy. I'm charging customers $13.50 because I serve to the mom and pop. I am not a Dunkin' Donut, nor am I a Starbucks charging $5 for a cup of coffee. I charge $2 for a cup of coffee. Now, do I pay my employees? Do I order inventory? Do I fix up the place that needs help? I took about close to $750,000 loss in COVID due to sales dropping. How do I survive paying $8,500 for cars that were parked in my parking lot. And fine, I did something wrong, but I'm an honest businessman. I pay my taxes, I pay my real estate taxes, I pay my sales taxes. So where did I go wrong? I guess that's why I'm here, maybe bring it up to you guys, I don't know. But I feel, and this is being very honest and candid about this, $8,500 for cars being parked in my own parking lot? It's absurd. Hire an attorney, hire an attorney. Attorney charges $250 an hour. You want me to pay my team, or do you want me to hire an attorney and do this? Do you want me to make donuts so I can serve my customers the next day? Or do I sit here and go look for an attorney that's going to say, okay, we'll charge you $100 just to be here with you? How do I survive that? Day in and day out. You know, we take a lot of pride in what we do. I take a lot of pride in my donuts. If you've ever had them, I assure you, I don't think I'll ever hear a complaint about it. So I guess I'm just asking for help, and I'm here to plead. I don't know what else I can really do at this point in time. Because honestly, it's going to put me under. $8,500 is a lot of money for me. I am not a McDonald's or a Starbucks. And it will break my back as a small business owner. I guess that's all I have to say, really.
Well, we appreciate you coming and speaking to us. I'll get back to you with the specifics of what your options are.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, who's next? This one. The, Robert Solis? Solis?
Yeah. I think,
Pardon me?
Mon-
No, we don't do this.
yeah, no, sometimes we do. When mayor wants it, he gets it done, question and answers, everything else. So I think you can ask the question.
Well,
If
at
you
a
have a
town
follow-up
hall,
question, is there a follow-up question? That's what,
is it the will of the board to ask questions?
yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Okay. Do you have questions for Manan?
Yeah.
It's not my preference.
I know.
Well, it's a town hall session, and he's stating this, and I just want to have some clarification for my own information. The cars that were parked in the lot, were they your cars?
There were 3 of them were my bakers.
Your
That-
baker's cars? And when they parked, was the fine for overnight parking?
You know what, I don't know, I'm not a lawyer. The cars have been there for last 6 years, okay? But he drives them, he fixes them, he works there, you know, that's what he does. He drives them
Okay. And the citation was
for leaving the cars there.
so then it must have been overnight when they
Yes.
were there, parked.
But we do baking overnight.
And how many citations were there? Must have been a lot of them for $8,500.
One, sir, one. I'm one of those people that if there's a problem, I ensure that I either respond or I fix it. Because my job is there to be making sure the store runs smoothly and to make sure that we have fresh donuts every morning, day in and day out.
And weren't you a previous Business of the Year award winner?
2
You
years.
held 2 years.
Yes. And I was nominated the 3rd year, and the 4th year, and the 5th year.
Okay, thank you. That's all I just wanted
And
to.
just quick question, so you got 30 days notice, so you did fix it within 30 days?
I did, I
you
sent an email
So-
saying, here you go, sir, I fixed the issue, this is what it is, and I even took pictures of it,
And you
and I
didn't
sent it to
respond
him.
back?
He did respond back, he said, thank you for taking care of that. There are 2 trailers in the back, can you make sure they're moved? And if you go drive through my parking lot right now, there are no trailers there or anything there.
Okay. All right, thank you for that information.
I also just wanted to say thank you for the additional information. I guess it's still an ongoing matter, so I'm hesitant to ask too many questions, but I did want to say that I don't believe many of us were aware of this. And so I thank you for taking the time to let us know about this. We will do our due diligence on this matter and find out more and work expeditiously to find a resolution.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. To be honest with you, all I want is to be able to make sure that I have fresh donuts on the shelves every morning, rather than stressing about the fact that I have to come up with $8,500 to either pay my team so they can feed their family, fix a store up, or put money towards something else that's useful, maybe marketing or growing the business, so I can actually get back to where I was pre-COVID,
Yes, sir.
rather than,
Right.
Manat, let me just ask you, if you have the time, can you stay for our meeting? Because at the end of our meeting, we have a trustee report area, and it is our policy during town home sessions that we don't engage with people that, you know, that are making their comments during town hall session. But we have a little bit more liberty during our trustee report session, and I'd like to talk to you and engage with you as is our procedure during our trustee session. If you can remain, you know, I don't know how long the meeting is gonna go, but sounds like it's important enough for you that if you can remain till the end of the meeting, and then we can delve a little deeper into
Yep.
this.
I agree.
And stay within our policy, as the mayor stated. It's not normally our policy to engage.
no, thank you
during
for
the town
that.
hall
Thank you for making the exceptions, and yes, definitely I can stay. I
Okay,
work
thank you.
overnight, so I can stay as long as you want.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure the tickets are under police department and they'll give their piece
Sure,
of the
we can
report.
do
So we
that.
have the full.
Do that at the end,
Yeah.
and stay within our policy.
That's right.
Pardon me? They're not from the police?
This is a business and it's through inspectional services.
Oh. Okay, so hopefully we can have that information. All right,
Robert?
I get the right one.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, come on up here. Can you state your name?
Sure, my name is Robert. I came here 2 weeks ago to complain about the same thing I'm going to complain about today. So also I spoke to, you were saying it's your birthday month, correct? I'm not sure how long ago your birthday was, your birthday month, correct?
27th, yeah.
27th?
It's your birthday month.
Oh, yeah.
So today's my birthday and I came here to complain about something.
It's okay, happy birthday.
Thanks.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I came to complain, so I came here 2 weeks ago to complain about the parking for Metro Parking. And I'm sure you guys have made up your mind, but I'm still here to voice my feelings, voice my opinion. So, I look on the website, I'm going to buy my parking pass soon for Metro Parking. As I stated before, I've been parking there for many years. So, and it's going to change, the parking's going to change. And here's what it says online, what Hanover Park says, what they're going to do. We're excited to announce an enhancement to the parking system at Hanover Park Station, providing a smoother, more streamlined parking experience for our commuters. Please review the details below and learn what these enhancements are. End of the month annual passes. To simplify our parking offerings, the sale of monthly and annual passes will be discontinued after May 2024. This adjustment allows us to focus on a more flexible daily parking system that accommodates everyone's needs. So I'm not sure about this everyone. That doesn't affect me. It's so much easier when I have a parking pass, and at least 40 other people, it's so much easier to have a parking pass than to wait 1 to 5 minutes at a parking meter every day. Why would I want to do that? It's so much, that's inconvenient for me and inconvenient for any other commuter that would just, for years, we just had a parking pass. So I'm trying to convince people to go back to a parking pass. It's more convenient for us commuters. It doesn't enhance nothing for me or others that may want, that use the pass. So I'm trying to get that voice out there. So hopefully you guys take this into consideration. I'm sure you guys have made up your mind, but I mean, it doesn't make it easier. It makes it more, it's like, you know, I can pay at the parking, I can make it easier to pay on my phone. It's a 40-cent fee. Okay, yeah, it's only 40 cents, but who wants to pay a fee? Who wants to pay a convenience fee? When you go to Target or Walmart to pick up your food or groceries, oh, hey, by the way, we're gonna charge you 40 cents for us to give you your whatever it is. I'm like, screw this, man, I'll go get it myself then. So that's how it is. It's only 40 cents, but it's the whole point of being charged additional fee. We didn't have to. So I really prefer that you guys go back to this parking pass. I'm sure your mind's made up again, but I'm sure it's easier for everybody that's had it before that way. So that's it for now. I guess that's it for me.
Let me just share with you.
Okay.
I'm on the Metro Board, and many communities have enacted some change to try to make up for the reduction in parking. So Hanover Park, like many communities, and the board discussed this and made a policy change, and staff went out and did their due diligence, and they made have a contract for a year, so we paid for that. And
But, sorry. We made a contract for a year, so I'd like to understand, before they said that we have to pay for parking, so how does it go? You get to pay for parking spots at the metro station?
Well, what we did, if you let me finish, what we did is we opened up the lot so people can park, and nobody was buying, exception of one person, the annual fee, okay? So the contract we have doesn't include an annual fee, nor can we program it to make an annual fee, but because of your conversation, it's gonna be an ongoing effort with that contract to include an annual fee. Now, that may take a year, because these things take time, but we just don't enable a contract and then throw it out, because the cost would be like through the roof. So I'm asking you to be sensitive to that. We're gonna do the best that we can to get back to having an annual fee for the lot, but our lot is basically open. We don't subsidize a whole big portion of the lot for those that have annual fees, because we don't have anybody, with one exception, seeking an annual fee.
Some might think it's a weird, I'm sorry, can
So it's gonna be an evolution to come back. We appreciate you coming in and offering that suggestion, but the board made a policy. That's our role. We're policymakers. And staff took that on to the best of their ability, talking and negotiating to come up with a contract. It didn't work for you because you really preferred the annual thing without the 40 cents every time you do it, or
Correct.
whatever, you know. I think you could do up to 14 days at a time.
I don't know.
So, you know, so I'm asking you to be sensitive to that. As policymakers, we do the best we can to provide staff with good policy. But sometimes you get a hitch in your get-along, and we have to respect the contract that we have to try, it's only a year, okay? And to respect that, and we'll talk to them and see if they can provide this as an evolution with the contract, maybe future contracts, so that we can have an annual fee.
What do you mean contract? I thought like Hanover Park owned the parking lot.
We, what's that got to do with it?
I thought, so you know, like any other thing, like, so why would you pay, so you're paying a fee to somebody else for the parking lot, or is it
No, we have a contract
with,
to manage the funding, the collection of funds,
okay,
okay?
okay. So,
We think it was a simple thing, but
okay,
obviously it didn't work so well
Correct.
for you.
correct.
But understanding that now, we're gonna try to take care of that, but it's
Okay.
gonna take a little time.
Okay, cool.
We did write a contract. You don't want us spending double the money, your tax money, to rewrite a contract. You know, we just don't throw money away.
Okay,
And I respect this board to seek quality policy. And the staff, their job is to carry out the policy. They do the day-to-day work. And so, this was a hitch in our get-along. I'm asking you to have patience with us. We now understand your
Cool.
need, and that need may be for others as more people want to go back to work.
excellent, cool.
So, okay?
Sounds good.
It's going to be a work in progress.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I respect the board and my willingness to kind of share that, you know.
We
It's
don't
not a
object
normal-
when-
this
We
is
don't
not a
object when
normal
you
thing.
want to talk, but you do
But now we
object
hit a
when
double
you want to
whammy.
talk.
So, thank you to the board for having patience. I having patience with you, you having patience with me. Are we a patient group? I don't know if I'm patient. I'm long couple of 3 days. Let's see. Back to the agenda. Village President's Report. As you all know, I've been with our legislators in Springfield Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I just got back prior to this meeting. Well, at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Had to freshen up, had to get dinner, walked in the door, and here I am. So, it was quite an honor to offer the presentations for Small Business Week. Glad you're all here, those that stayed. Had an opportunity to apologize to the Cairo business. I didn't see that analogy, Lisa, thank you. I just wasn't get that. So we have evenings like that. But that was on the heels of a wonderful dinner acknowledging those who volunteer in the community. I'm going to ask in the future, I really like the dinner, but I'm going to ask our board member liaisons to these committees to really help get their committee members to come to the meeting, to the dinner. We were down, I think, CIDC only had one other person.
My members didn't get invitations,
Yeah,
and so normally we would rely on them getting them to their emails, and so they didn't know.
yeah, but at your meetings, please try to, in the future, reinforce that. I think it's important. Staff does a nice job of sending out invites, and that can't be the only thing. We've got to all work together to support acknowledging those in the community who volunteer their time. And we have some wonderful folks from the community who do volunteer their time. They're sitting here now. I saw a few of them. So just a consideration. Also, one of our big issues downstate was the removal of the grocery tax. There's no impact to the state government. However, the impact to Hanover Park between $500,000 and $600,000. That's a major impact, expected to start June 1st. And one of the things, it's not like we all hate the grocery tax, but it was the timing. And so we were talking about the timing to have that kind of impact in the middle of our budget year is horrendous. So I think we got the message across. I met with the governor on 2 different occasions. One was to talk about the pension initiative that's out there. The governor seemed pretty supportive there. He was not interested in adding costs to the pensions that are, we're still not funded on pensions. The grocery tax. One of my big initiatives, given our history in Hanover Park, was the quality of our crime-free housing ordinance. Many communities have copied ours. It works well. We've had this board, Herb Porter and I, and went to the NAACP in DuPage County, and everybody thought we had a very fair ordinance and was functioning well. We've never had lawsuits on that ordinance. I think that's a key component. We call it where people have families are, you know, an issue, and we don't evacuate, evict, evacuation. We just had a bomb. We don't evict families, but we do, for serious crimes, deal down on that. And Chief, I was requested by a couple of legislators, they wanted to have some data, you know, some history of our past years. And it looks pretty good. Our history looks pretty good. You and I have worked on that. And we've, Herb and I have looked at that seriously. And so that's a big issue. It's the landlords, and I don't know why the realtors are supporting getting rid of it entirely, because they need to go after the communities that are violating it in a serious manner. We're doing something good, and I'm proud of it, and we should support. Our Part 1 crimes have gone to, you know, when I came on the board, it was over 1,600. Today, they're under 300. We're doing some good stuff here. This is a safe community, and I'm proud of it. So those are a few of the items that I still would like trustees to join me when I make these trips down. I know a few of you have in the past. I think I wore you all out going down, but I do appreciate the support. To go to IML, I've been on the executive board for a number of years. I've been on a board member. I'm not on the executive board. I'm going to make that request. on April, May, is it June? June 26th, I become, I've been nominated and I will become president of Northwest Municipal Conference. So I would like y'all to put that on your calendar. I hope you can make it. Congratulations. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I thought I didn't get nominated because nobody called me. And we're riding down to Springfield, and I rode with the Schomburg crew, and they said, "So what do you think of your nomination?" I said, "Well, it'd be nice if somebody told me." So that was appreciated. It was 2013. I was president of DuPage Mayor Managers, so it's been a number of years. Look forward to that. And I probably have talked enough. I'd like to move by unanimous vote items on the consent agenda.
So moved. Second. Didn't we remove two?
So those are items 7A1,
yeah.
7A2, 7A4 through 7A8, and 7A10.
I apologize for missing the first vote on this, but I'd like to remove 7A2.
7A2?
Yes.
7A2.
Anybody else?
Anyone else?
Okay, so that means you're gonna vote on 7A1, 7A4 through 7A8, and 7A10.
Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Prigi?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
And Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm glad to have Christie back. The last meeting, it was confusing.
I was here last
Somebody,
2 years.
we did do it right, so. 7A2, motion to approve solicitation of donations, administrative policy for the Village of Hanover Park. Do we have a motion?
Motion. So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Trustee Porter?
Thank you. I appreciate the staff putting together this explanation for the sponsorship program. I just have a couple of questions that I need before I can move forward and approve this agenda item. As far as the corporate sponsorship program is concerned, I have a couple of questions that I still need to be addressed. One is, I'm not clear in the wording of this, the timing as to when business partners can be approached to be a part of the corporate sponsorship program. It sounds like there is a time specified, a date specific as to when solicitations can be made, and so I was wondering what is that time frame, and could that be explained? That's the first question that I have, because we certainly need to know that so that we don't run askance of the new ordinance.
Yeah, we didn't put a date in there just so there's some flexibility, but it is done at the beginning of the year. The letter that goes out from Mayor Craig is dated, the one that went out this year is we want all the sponsorships in by April 1st. Our main season begins then for events. We have very few before then. So anyone who has donated, we want to get them onto the website, get their logos up, be able to talk to them and know that it's going to happen, be then going into our main event season when things are occurring. At the end of last year, I had sent out an email to like all the committees reminding them if they had a sponsorship to please send them to me so we could reach out to them, make sure they got a letter as well. And that's all in preparation for it coming into the, the following year, this year.
So is it possible then that we could include that wording in the ordinance to state that the open period for soliciting donations is January 1st through April 1st, if that's the preferred time frame?
Absolutely, will of the board. Sure.
Okay, thank you. The other question that I have is, I still have some concern about how donations that are made by a particular business in town, which they may be very supportive of, let's say, the historical committee, and they want to support the efforts of the historical committee, and they're interested in making a donation that will go to support the historical committee. And the historical committee may be planning to do an event that focuses on their efforts and their activities. How do we then make the connection between a business owner who says, I specifically want to support the historical committee, I've got $500 that I want to put because they're going to be doing a program highlighting the traditions of Hanover Park and some of the historical things that we want to notate. How do we then make sure or let that business owner know that that donation won't go into a general fund, but will go towards supporting the effort or the event or the activities of that particular committee, or even, of that particular committee? How does that happen within the structure of this ordinance?
Don't answer me. And you're talking dollars, right? Not in kind, right?
I'm talking dollars.
Yeah. They can give both, as everyone knows, but
Yeah.
directly the money is simply goes into the general fund account for it and is dispersed during the budget period when we're budgeting based on what we've done and what we've done in the past. We do a budget projection based on what we've done for fundraising the year before, and that's what we put in the budget that can be then used to go out.
Yeah, and I think though, doesn't the application for the corporate partner program allows you to designate, I believe?
Correct.
What you want it to go to. So a business would want to do either money or an in-kind, materials or something like that, and they'd say, well, we want this, we're pledging $500 to the store committee, or we want to pledge food for the Cops Day picnic or whatever. So then we would note that when it came in, and then Remy would just do the accounting for that.
And how would the historical committee chairperson know that that $500 is there available for them to conduct their event?
So the conversation during the budget period.
But this would happen,
No,
okay,
but during the budget time, and I know that, we try to have the committees give a projection of like revenue and in addition to expenditures for the event, to understand if they know that there's going to be money coming in, or if they have had conversations over the years for the event. As far as an additional amount of money, if it was solicited in general, we would then let the committee know. But a lot of times, it will be the committee has a conversation with somebody, a business, and they want to donate, and we already know that that's in conjunction with what was kind of predicted during the budget period.
so, thank you. And so here's the dilemma that I have. We say that we're going to open up the solicitation period, for example, from January 1st to April, whatever. That's after we've done the budget. And so if the business owner comes to the committee that's doing the event in February or in late January and say, I heard about the event that you're doing, I really support this, I want to give $500. Now, that hasn't been included in any budget discussions because they didn't know about it. So it comes up in January, it comes up in February, and they say, I've got $500 that I want to give to this event. How then is that accounted for, and how then is the committee made aware that, outside of anything we've done in the budget period, here's an additional $500 that someone wants to contribute to your activity?
Well, so I don't know that it's exactly additional, because, so for example, last year, correct me if I'm wrong, we budgeted and predicted based on historical, year to year, that we would get $11,000 as part of the corporate partner program. Do we know that ahead of time? No, we just from year to year and how much we've been receiving, we get $11,000. That's what we budgeted for. That $11,000 of revenue that's in the budget offsets
is that extra from their budget that they have been approved for?
No, it kind of covers those the expenditures are divided throughout the budget in all the different buckets, as you say, or the committees or something. But that revenue is revenue that goes into our budget, into our general fund, that offsets all the expenditures that are in our general fund. So for example, last year, we only received $9,000 in corporate partner donations. So we're short $2,000 last year from corporate partner, but we still have all the expenses that the committee does, and somewhere along the line, the budget, gets modified, or we do a budget amendment or whatever, and by the end of the year, we balance, or we don't balance, and we have to make a transfer from from the fund balance, or however that's done. So I think you have to, the corporate partner program and the revenue that comes in is not for like a specific, we don't fundraise just for a specific event through this program.
But that,
The problem is that that's specifically what Juneteenth does, which is one of our bigger events now.
So the Juneteenth, sister cities, when they came to the budget, they said, they gave an estimate for the revenue. So they gave an estimated revenue of collecting $3,900. So we would want that, so we put that in the budget, and we calculated expenses in the budget to include that revenue. So that's all taken into consideration on the expense side in addition to the revenue side.
but in doing that, we put in for $3,900, but we weren't approved for $3,900 because we were anticipating what those events would actually cost. So in order to make up that shortfall, we've taken to making our own solicitations to cover the shortfall from what the village has approved for our budget, which I think was $2,500 is what we were approved. And then there's another $1,400. So we have taken on the activity of making individual solicitations to make up that shortfall. So then what I'm hearing is that we don't need to make those individual solicitations. We just need to tell you that, we're doing this event. It's going to be $1,400 over what's been budgeted, and then you'll go into that pot of the $9,000 and provide that additional $1,400. Am I correct, or am I not hearing correctly?
Well, can we do, Judge, if you did solicit, so in the past, the committee has done this ad book and things that other committees don't do. So other committees just do the corporate partner program, budget for their event, and go forward, and try to stay within that budget. Sister Cities has done it a different way, and we've tried to do it from a back door and give them the recognition that the corporate partner program provides, which is thanking them on the website.
Highlighter, their logo on the site, the mayor does announcements for them.
When the committee tells us that we've received additional contributions, we've tried to back it into the program. Next year, as part of the budget process, the committee can come and say, we want to do this event, and here's how much it's going to cost, and the board can have a discussion about how much they want to put of all of the expenses and the revenue to balance the budget, how much they want to put towards that event.
So, and I don't want to drag this on and belabor this, but, so I guess what I'm thinking is that we put on, well, a couple of events during the year. One of the largest event, not one of, but the largest event is what was formerly known as Courts and Crafts. And I know that we budgeted $26,000 to conduct the Courts and Crafts so that they can put on an event that's appropriate and befitting of the village. And so when we put through an ask of $3,900, but we're only approved for $2,500, I'm just wondering why is one given, that consideration for $26,000 and yet we're asking for less than 4,000, and it was cut down to 2,500. If that's the way that we're doing it from the budget. So, you know, that's what kind of raised my eyebrows. And then if you cut off our ability to go to a business owner like Country Style Donuts, who has supported us in the past, and they write us a check to support an event, but now we're saying you don't want us to do that unless it's within the confines and the construct of the corporate sponsorship program, that we shouldn't make those individual asks of businesses. That's just my point. I'm just wanting to know, what can we do, what's within the confines of the ordinance, and how do we then manage our events within the structure of the budget?
So, again, you can do it one of two ways. One, the committees come forward with a request for funding for their events, and staff, I present you with a recommendation for the budget, and then we present that budget to all of you, and the board's making the decision on the budget. So at that point, if the board does not feel that they want more funding, they want less funding, they want to do something else, during those budget meetings would be the time, and we had a whole workshop, if you recall, last year about special events and cutting special events, and we made a recommendation, the board came back and, modified it, and that's what's in the budget right now. So, one, you can come forward, and if you want additional funding for that event, then as part of the budget process, we would have that discussion, and in the end, the board would approve whatever amount the board felt that they could balance the budget and do. Or we include in the budget an amount of money, and in addition to that amount of money, the committee could go and solicit, their funds. My understanding is the sister cities, if you want to talk about Juneteenth, is that they've set up a 501c3 to be able to do that outside of the budget and the villages process, so that they can have a bigger event than what's outlined in the budget.
And my final comment is, I'm just wondering why it's necessary for us to have to maneuver that way in order to put on an event that's befitting of the village. But I don't see the same maneuvering when it comes to balancing the budget and doing those kind of things when we put on our signature event, which is Courts and Crafts. It's approved, and there's no thought about, well, how do we balance the budget if we spend $26,000 on this event? It's just, I guess, automatically agreed upon that we're going to spend that money. And I have no problems with the amount of money that we're spending, but believe me, that's not the point that I'm trying to make. I'm just talking about how we get to those amounts just seems to be inherently biased toward the event that the village is doing versus an event that the committee is doing, which leads me to think that perhaps we should move the Juneteenth event to a village event so that it gets the same considerations, take it out of the hands of sister cities and make it a village event, and then apply the budget to support that event with the same consideration that we give to the Courts and Crafts.
So the event could be moved out of committee and moved to the special events committee. Yes, that would be something that could be done. Again, the village board, in the end, is the decision maker on how much and what events are going to be budgeted for.
Okay. That's the policy component.
So
So,
I just want to add, so it's sounding like this ordinance and this policy that we're trying to implement is one size fits all, and it's also sounding like how we operate and how we actually put on events is not one size fits all. And so I would very much like to see maybe some exceptions written into this policy. I don't know if that means that we would then pull it from tonight, add those exceptions, and, yes, go ahead, Dave.
If you look at the policy, there's the exception in there now, and we can add the dates, as trustee Porter had recommended, if the board sees fit. But there's an exception now that just says if anything comes up, it's approved by the village manager, so that could be done outside of the committee. So that was one of the reasons we brought it forward is we had the old, we didn't really have a policy. We had a 20-year-old policy. In the early 2000s, this similar policy, we've tweaked it since, had been brought to the board, but it was never approved to add the exceptions because the old way was nothing was done outside the policy except you brought it before the board. This policy is saying, hey, if something comes up, the village manager approves it and it's okay. It could come in September if a solicitation option came forward. And I think it's in the section,
Yeah, I see.
exceptions to the corporate partnership policy,
Yeah, I think
number
it's
A. So I think it makes it, I don't want to say it opens it up, but it just, I think the whole point, and the corporate policy could be done anyway, or get rid of it altogether, I guess, but it just narrows it down, because we don't want somebody to be treated, who gave a very generous donation, to be treated differently than somebody just because they gave it a little bit later. The more organized manner we can get all these solicitations in, the more organized we can be when we're giving recognition at events, when we're putting stuff on our website. It's so some people are getting recognition and some aren't, as far
One
as the
other thing,
recognition.
Dave, can you explain?
Can I add one more thing?
Yeah.
This was a board policy. This came from the board. I know you're the board as a whole, but you're all different, in your seats. But this came from the board because the board didn't want us to continually go to businesses in town over and over again, or different committees or whatever, and keep hitting up the businesses and people for contributions. So this came from the board to say.
A past board.
A past board,
Yeah.
organize it. So I think when Dave says we don't need this, we can have this policy go away, I think we need to have a policy that works for all of you and your understanding of the business community and what you want it to be.
I would like to pull this from the agenda tonight so that we can have further discussion on it, because I have questions about Section 3, Item B, which says any donations that fall under exception that exceed the budget shall be brought to the village board in the form of a budget amendment prior to the expenditure of the funds. I'm not sure exactly what's that saying in terms of if we receive the donation from someone, then we have to come to the board to get that approved, that donation, to have it approved and accepted into the budget. And I may be misreading it, but I would not like to.
I can try to answer the
Trustee Porter,
question,
if I may, I totally support pulling it from the agenda. I think at the last workshop, it was short-shifted.
Yeah.
We only had a few minutes, and let's try to get it through.
Yeah.
I was not comfortable with that, and it seems like we still have some questions. So I'm really okay with pulling it from the agenda, and if we need to work it in a workshop. I'm
in agreement.
I don't have any sponsorship, nor have I asked for it, for the car show. But I fully intend to have some kind of car show that won't have the impact on the staff, because I think we've relied too much on staff to run all the events, so to speak. And I think it's time for the board to kind of step up and be a part of some leadership for running some of these events that we really have passion for. I think the Juneteenth event has been an outstanding example. It's a good reflection of our community, and there are some donations that want to come from outside. Now, if I have a car show, there's probably 24 individuals that have car businesses that would like to support it, okay? But I think I have to take the burden off of staff to run that. Now, I can run it at Caputo's, I can run it, in one of our shopping centers, I can run it at a media center. But there's a number of things that we probably need to shift our thinking on it. I was on the board back when we talked about the policy, because our businesses were getting hit up every month, and that was kind of unruly. And so we want to make sense of it, we want to do it right, and it has to be a policy that works for this board. We're the policymakers.
Absolutely.
Do I have a motion?
would agree.
I make a motion to remove it from the agenda.
I second.
Thank you.
So is there a motion to pass it has there been a motion to pass it?
Yes.
Who made the,
No, to remove it.
No,
Oh.
we're removing it.
No, they did make a motion, though.
was there a motion to pass it this time?
There was a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Who
Trustee
made the
Staley.
motion?
Trustee
I made the
Staley, trustee Coe.
So, do you want to withdraw your motion
I withdraw my motion.
in a second? Who's the
Uh-uh.
second? Do you want to
Second.
withdraw your second? Okay, so those are withdrawn.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second to remove it from the agenda.
Correct.
Do I need a roll call vote? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Never appeared on the agenda. It's a figment of our imagination. Thank you, Herb.
Thank you.
Okay, 7A3, motion to approve year 3 of the 3-year contract and authorize the approval of a purchase order to Centagro Central LLC in the amount not to exceed $275,670 for the dewatering and hauling of sludge from the sewer treatment plant, and authorize village manager to execute the necessary documents.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes, very quickly. So I understand that 3 years ago, we approved this 3-year contract with Sinagro Central that operates in Illinois but is headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. It recently came to my attention that Sinagro not only is a very large company, but Sinagro headquarters has been involved in, has, I guess, a very long history with litigation, lawsuits, things of that nature. And so we've had several discussions on, as a village, implementing a higher standard when it comes to businesses and who we allow to carry out our contracts, and just ensuring that, the work that we are hiring these businesses for occurs, is effective, we can trust that it'll get done. And so I understand that we are a part of a 3-year contract, and so we have to fulfill that contract. But I, one, wanted to mention this because this is an ongoing conversation that we're having, but 2, I wanted to just strongly recommend that we do not move forward with this company in the future, or that we do not re-up their contract, because I do know that we are going out to bid this contract again in the coming months. And I'll stop there.
Okay. I know there's been discussion about who's appropriate, who's inappropriate. I think as a matter of policy, we need to maybe address that, and maybe do it off at a workshop or something. I call these hitches in our get-along for how we've done business in the past. I know we canceled a fire hydrant thing, so we're not getting our fire hydrants done, but it's,
We didn't cancel that. We authorized the village manager to do the fire hydrants.
Yes, we were going to
okay,
find
I
another company.
misunderstood.
Which
Yeah.
was done offline at the workshop.
Right,
Okay,
We wanted to
Right.
get in the meeting, but it was done in the workshop.
okay,
Correct.
sorry, I misunderstood. But with that, I think there's some policy we need to have a conversation around. So I'm okay with that, so. We have a motion to approve. I suggest we fulfill the 3rd year of this contract, and then we'll have some ongoing conversation about what's appropriate, what's inappropriate.
I think that
Who's speaking?
to
Oh,
my
yeah.
to my colleagues' concerns, I know we have addressed the RBO, but I think we also need to revisit the policy manual on contractors and the vetting of contractors, then we need to read it, revisit it, and make sure that it's updated so that it is applicable to today's reality. And you know, because there's a lot more information that's available to us now than maybe when that original ordinance was written. We have Google, the internet, you know, you can go and you can find out about information on these companies that maybe wasn't available to us when the ordinance was originally drafted. So I think that it would behoove us to maybe revisit that whole policy as a separate item and just make sure it's updated to reflect the realities of information in today's, you know, in today's.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I think we directed staff some time ago to look at that, and I think they're in the middle of doing an update.
Okay.
And so maybe we get a report and update from staff where they're at with that. Juliana's, can come, yeah, we're gonna have to have a workshop and see what updates they've had. And I think they were getting ready to propose something to us, but we, you know, we're looking a little closer at a number of things. So let's, let me go back to staff and tell them to see where they're at. We'll have a off-site meeting, or not off-site, but a workshop or whatever. We'll see where they're at, and maybe some of those things have been included. So, and we may want to add some additional language, okay? I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
So let me ask a question, if I may.
Yeah,
Is this a 3-year contract?
Yes,
Why is this here then?
because every year, if it's over 20,000, we bring it back to the board in case, because there's an exit provision in the contract. And so we want to give the board an opportunity, based on budget or other things that might happen, to decide whether they want to move forward on the 3rd year.
So this is, so the village has an option to do the 3rd year? Or are we obligated to do the 3rd year?
I believe there is an exit provision if for some reason we're unhappy or something with the contract. I don't know. I don't have it, I guess it's in the packet. It's just been our practice, if it's a multi.
To authorize the purchase order.
Pardon me? I'm sorry, I just heard something else. What?
We bring it back,
It's been my practice to bring back to the board, even if it's a multi-year agreement, if it's over 20,000, have the board approve the 3rd year.
Okay.
the 4th year.
If you'd like me to stop that practice and make it, then
I
don't-
like that
don't-
practice.
Well, I'm just trying to understand
I like
what
it
the
too.
board's role is. If you have a contract, then you have a contract. If you want to bring
I've
it to
heard
the
that
board,
from- I've heard that
Yeah.
from staff before. I've heard, why do we have to
Yeah,
go back
no.
to the board? And I tell the staff that it's my policy to bring back if each year of a multi-year agreement, if it's over 20,000, it's my call. That's what I've done. If the board does not wish to have them come, then I will tell staff if it's a
well,
multi-year.
I'm just trying to narrow down what the issue is in front of the board.
I don't think
So I
that's
don't,
the issue.
let me just finish, please. You know, I don't think the issue is the purchasing policy. I don't think it's an appropriate discussion to have currently concerning this matter, because I believe the village actually has a contract for this sludge removal for this 3rd year. And unless you hear from them that they've done something wrong in the performance of the contract, it's not an issue of anything, vetting anything or doing anything. These people have a contract with the village. It's the 3rd year of the contract.
And I would agree with you, Bernie, that we are not saying that there's been a performance issue or anything. We are recommending doing the 3rd year of the.
I just want to get the issue separated from the issue of, you know, what is the purchasing policy?
I used to say
I don't think the
perfunctory.
purchasing policy
Yeah.
is part of this issue.
Right,
So,
okay.
I think it's coming up later on in the agenda, and that's the time to have a discussion concerning it. Otherwise, what do they have to do with our purchasing policy?
So I just want to say, I get it, and I like your practice, and it keeps us informed, so carry on. And we understand this is a 3rd-year contract, and that we are under contract, and there might be an escape clause, but I think it's important that we know when you execute these, just like you've been doing. I think it's fine with me.
I also like that policy. Let's keep that policy. I appreciate being informed, so thank you.
Okay, let's call the roll.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Frigie?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. I used to say perfunctory, because they keep coming back. And I do like the practice, I will agree with Trustee Gutierrez. 79, move to pass an ordinance amending the Village of Hanover Park purchasing manual by adding apprentice and training program to the vendor selection criteria.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I have been gone all week, and I'm really excited about our opportunity to get this behind us. We had a good discussion at the workshop. I supported that. I did a consensus on a number of issues. My background in prototyping, build a little, test a little, I think we've put us in a place on that. I'm a proof of concept guy, so what we agreed to at the workshop, I would suggest we pass. Covers the proof of concept. If something doesn't work, we'll come back and visit it. I had some phone calls from interested parties about taking it to $0. That was not the consensus we reached, and I shared with them that I'm a proof of concept guy, and I would support the consensus of this board to move forward. There's other issues that are going to come up relative to that. I would suggest that we take those on in addition, but I do want to get this behind us so we can move on and talk about some additional things that may be impacting. So we had a good discussion at the workshop, and I recommend that we pass this ordinance. Discussion?
Yes, thank you. So I don't believe that we can get it past us until we insert a lot of the information into the ordinance that we discussed in regards to vetting, in regards to how this information will be translated to the board. We spoke about thresholds. So there's a lot of really important information that I think was missed. I do want to thank Bernie because he provided us with like a rough drafts of sorts, and also just provided us with more information about the purchasing policy, so we were able to review the manual. But until we have information in this ordinance as it relates to the RBO, what qualifies under RBO, and standardizing a vetting process, then the ordinance is incomplete. And so I want to bring to the board's attention that I did send out several different additions that I thought were important for this ordinance. I did write a lot. I hope everyone was able to review the additions and changes that I did propose. And I wanted to first see if anyone had any questions or had any thoughts on the proposed additions.
On the what?
Proposed additions to the ordinance.
Well, those were done in the dark, meaning outside the Open Meetings Act. And so I think they're, I briefly read them about 3:30 today. And
Okay.
that's why I said, let's pass the ordinance. It doesn't mean we can't address these other items. I don't want to delay this ordinance. If you want to delay this ordinance, I can't guarantee it'll pass. Let's get the ordinance in place positively, and then let's move ahead and talk about all these other items that we can put into our ordinances. But let's have some discussion on those items that you mentioned. But if you're saying we have to put this all into here, we're not going to pass it tonight. We'll take it off the agenda, which I don't want to do. I want to get the RBB passed, and then there's some other conditions that we need to have a workshop around and discuss them legitimately. I just don't want to read something on an email, and then that's not open discussion that we can have among board members. And I've been an advocate for the RBB for a long time. And if there's some ancillary suggestions that we need to discuss, we can do that. But if we don't pass this tonight, I don't know if it'll pass. Because it could take us a year to address all those other things. So I'm asking the board, let's get this passed, let's move on. We do have other concerns, and they're just not relative to RBB. I think they're relative to how we do our business. So they can be in addition to. So that's what I'm asking the board.
First and foremost, I did not take any actions in the dark. I do not know what you are referring to. I sent an email out to our entire board for their review so that they could be fully informed about the additions and changes that I'm proposing to this ordinance.
And you don't understand that's inappropriate.
I am fully aware of OMA. I am fully aware of that.
Then why are you violating?
And
No, I don't think she did.
OMA was not violated. No one responded to the email. Everyone here on this dais understands how OMA is, and I will not be accused of violating any such law when that did not take place. That is incorrect.
You're trying to adjust an agenda through
That is
through
incorrect,
email.
and I reject that. I reject
Well,
that.
that's how I interpret it. I'm sorry.
Then
All I'm asking, let's get this passed. You have legitimate items that I read late today briefly. I haven't even been able to give them any thought. And I think they're worth having some conversation about. They're worth discussing. But not tonight.
you don't get to dictate that. This is before the board. We all have a vote here. We all have a voice here. We can all discuss what's in front of us on this agenda.
You're asking to change.
I did not ask to change. I said I sent out information, additions and changes to this ordinance, and I wanted to figure out if the board at large had any questions about the information that was provided.
And why
I
can't we-
understand that a lot of information, I started with that. I said, I understand a lot of information was presented. And I also understand that Bernie is still in the process of reviewing that information. And so it very much makes sense to allow people to have time to review it. If they have questions, if they have concerns, if they need clarification.
can I understand?
No, I will finish. I will finish.
Oh, yeah,
speaking.
you
You have
finish.
now
Bye.
interrupted me several times. Allow the board members to review, make changes, ask questions. It can then be brought back. We bring back ordinances before the board all the time. And when we do, and we discuss things all the time. And that doesn't mean that we're violating OMA. We all understand this rule. I will not be accused of that. I will go back to what I was stating before. Earlier, I sent out additions to the board. If you have not had time to review those, and if you've been busy, I understand. We all work. It's fine. But these are additions that are important to the ordinance itself and to make sure that it's a strong ordinance and it does what we essentially want it to do, which is discussing vendor vetting, talking about what vendor vetting includes, the exceptions to the general policy under vendor selection, talks a little bit about bid processes, and then also I was able to locate information that is similar to the Village of Lisle. They have an ordinance that talks a little bit more about checking the references of certain companies, making sure that they can provide examples of the work that they've done. And so this is all the information that I sent out. Again, if you haven't had time to review it, I completely understand that. But this is what we talked about during our workshop, right? Standardizing having a standard vetting process in place, making sure that when we give a contract to a business, we know that right off the bat, we're going to expect great service, the job's going to get done on time, we're not going to have any sort of ethical issues, just to make sure that we trust that the job's going to get done. And so I've talked a lot. I'll pause there.
I think we're saying the same thing. My point isn't to insult you.
Well, you
My
have
point-
insulted me. You have insulted
But you're interrupting me now. I'm saying, my point was not, I like to have these discussions and the dialogue in public. I've been an advocate for RBB for as long as I've been here. And to hold it hostage for I don't know how many months to get through every label that you put on the internet to board members, I think that's inappropriate. So I've asked the board to pass this. We can move on, address all these other things. We shouldn't hold this item hostage for that. And I can tell you that I'd be an advocate to address all these things in the open environment. So my language may not be acceptable to you, but I think we're trying to say the same thing. So I wouldn't be offended. I would say, let's figure this out and move forward. But I don't want to get this. My hope is to get this behind us. Any other board member like to speak to it?
I just wanted to make a comment on that. Trustee Bincoli, thank you for doing the research and forwarding the email. Honestly, I didn't get a chance to review, and it's a little heavy for me to review with the legal language and everything else. As now in the board meeting, Bernie explaining that it is the third year of a contract, that is something that we should honor because we already honored it. It's just, it's inappropriate to discuss it. I understand that maybe going forward contracts is something we need to apply, what we discussed in the workshop. I think we can leave it at that at this point, but other trustees can voice their opinion.
We call the question, village clerk.
It has to be, there has to be a second on the call question.
Yeah, if there's no second, I just want to offer a possible solution to what we're discussing. I think there are two issues that are involved. There's the responsible bidder ordinance, and then there's the purchasing manual and adjustments that need to be made to the purchasing manual, which we kind of touched on at the workshop, but we didn't delve into language or adjustments or modifications to the purchasing manual. If it pleases Trustee Bincoli, I think that the adjustments that we've made to the responsible bidder ordinance are in line with what we discussed in the workshop. But I think that we should have an additional workshop on reviewing the purchasing manual so that her concerns about vetting, bidding, and all of those other things that I share, those concerns can be fleshed out in a workshop, and then we can come up with language to make. The responsible bidder is an amendment, is a modification to the purchasing manual. I think we need another one that covers bidding, vetting, and all of those issues, because I think that's too important, and I didn't get a chance to review all of the information that was sent out. I saw it, but I didn't get a chance to thoroughly review it so that I can make an intelligent comment on it. So I would kind of offer that as a possible solution, but I don't want it to be ignored or discounted because I think it's valid, the points that are made.
I think you separate them out nicely. Thank you.
Can I just say something real quick? So I don't think that Trustee Bincoli is trying to hold this hostage. I got home at 4 o'clock. I've had a very busy week, and part of the issue is that we got this today, Thursday. Today, right? That's how tired I am, folks. Is today Thursday? I don't even know what day it is. I'm exhausted. So, Mayor, we were getting in at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm exhausted. And so it's very late for us to review all of this, but you did bring up some really great points, and we did all respect OMA, and we don't discuss these things outside of boards, especially, you know, just simple things like the joint, the general policy exceptions for joint contracts, like the one that we were going to have with Muscat. So I agree with Trustee Porter. I don't see why this can be further discussed and looked at. I'm not going to say that, you know, we're going to not do this. I think we all want this RVO, and I know the mayor has been like pushing for this for a very long time, and I think it's a wonderful thing, but I also don't know why do we have to pass it without fixing these things? I guess that's what I want to know.
Yeah, no, my thought is the RBB was a component we had discussed in a workshop. So let's put that component behind us. I think Trustee Porter talked about the vetting and all the other policy, you know, the purchasing manual. I think we can separate that out, but we need to address it. We talked about that earlier. We need to address it. I want to put the notion of the RBB behind us so we can move on. That'll then be a component, but then the rest of it we can work on. So,
Yeah, the main issue in the RBO is the training and the apprenticeship.
Right.
That's what the RBO was designed to address.
Right.
And I think that this ordinance that's been presented addresses that. But I think Trustee Coley's concerns go beyond that, which is the purchasing manual in general, which I think we need to address. And I really would like to have an in-depth workshop where that's the only item on the workshop, so that we're not trying to, you know, deal with two different issues. We can focus solely on that for the full length of the workshop and come up with some recommendations to give the staff in terms of making amendments and adjustments to the purchasing manual.
thank you. Anyone else? The clerk, call the
So
roll.
what I'm hearing is, and thank you for your comments. So what I'm hearing is that everyone needs more time to review it and kind of understand some of the proposed changes. But that as the ordinance stands, we agree with the bulk of information. So we would then change the objective to two different ordinances,
Yeah, well said.
because this was essentially one conversation about having higher standards. And those higher standards came in the form of an RVO, but it also came through vetting. So I viewed, and this is all a part of the purchasing policy, so are we saying that we want to then do two separate ordinances, or are we saying that we want to fully make sure that all the information about the vetting and the RVO is in one? I think I'm just trying to get clarification. And I think, I'd like to make sure that everyone has time to review, ask questions. So I personally am in favor of pulling the ordinance and then giving everyone the time that they deserve to review things, making sure that all the things that we've talked about are included in said ordinance, excuse me, and then bringing it back for a vote.
The items in the vetting and, you know, outside of the RVO includes more than just the RVO. So that's why I said,
That's not necessarily true.
well,
And because I've reviewed many RVOs, and some are through purchasing policy, some are standalone, some include some of the reference checks that I've talked about and making sure that they're like a fully fledged business. So I've done a lot of work on this.
we can do contracts outside of the RVO.
I am aware of that.
Okay, so.
I am talking about the ordinance that is here before us and the information that's within said ordinance.
So all
And
I'm
so I'm
asking is
trying
put
to-
this behind us, and then
I
we
don't
still
know
can
what
address
that
the
means, put this behind us. This
Well, I wanna move
is
on.
a document that will provide guidance to us when we are working with businesses. We're here having this discussion because we've had issues with the businesses that have come before the board. They've taken part in unethical conduct and questionable business practices. We don't want that to be our norm. That's why we're having this discussion, and that's why we're trying to pass this ordinance. So, again, just what I'm saying is, I'm just seeking clarity.
Can I offer then some clarity?
Yeah.
Trustee Bancole? The responsible bidder ordinance is one issue. The village purchasing manual is not an ordinance, it's a manual. And so what we're looking at doing is we're passing an ordinance for responsible bidder, but then we're gonna go in and review the purchasing manual, which isn't an ordinance. So the ordinance,
Included. That's how Bernie wrote it. He wrote it to be included, and that's where the-
it's included as a matter of policy, but the manual stands apart from an ordinance. The manual is not an ordinance, am I correct?
Right, so my understanding of it is this, that we do have an ordinance that says that I believe the village manager is to prepare maybe a purchasing manual, purchasing policy for the board's consideration. And the manager is to bring that to the village board for its consideration. And so I believe that that was done many years ago, before the current manager, and maybe even before the manager before that. And the board approved it. It's been amended previously. I don't know, I don't think it was necessarily done by an ordinance. The village board had asked for an ordinance concerning the responsible bidders provision about the apprenticeship program. So I did prepare an ordinance. The ordinance said that will amend the policy manual, purchasing manual, because that's what the village board had basically said. And if you pass that, it will do that as an ordinance. At some point in the future, if the mayor wants to do or whatever, you're gonna take up the purchasing manual again and the purchasing policy. I think there's two parts to it, maybe more parts. That'll come to you from the manager. And at that point in time, all those issues, whatever issues, would be open to go through, do whatever. And I believe that there's changes that the management of the municipality is going to propose concerning changes. When you see all those, and you'll also have an opportunity to look at those, make whatever changes you want to make, because ultimately it has to be approved by the board. But as to the issue of an ordinance, I can't tell you that it was ever an ordinance, I don't know. The only ordinance I know for sure that would affect it would be the ordinance that's on the agenda. Because I don't know if there was any other ordinance that was ever passed. There were motions passed to approve it, there were resolutions passed to approve it. I don't know if there may have been an ordinance passed to approve it, I don't know.
Would it take an ordinance to make amendments to the purchasing manual, or can we
No,
just
it would not.
make amendments to the purchasing manual?
It would not,
Okay.
but there was a request for an ordinance concerning the responsible bidders provision.
Typically,
And so, and yes, and typically they are done by ordinances by many communities,
Yeah.
not by law. Because a lot of the, if you look at some communities, not all, but if you look at some communities, all of that material is in their municipal code. So they might have 20 pages in their municipal code covering all of this. In the village of Hanover Park, they didn't do it that way. They had, I don't know, 50 a lot of pages. There's like 50 pages, 57 pages, and they put it into a manual. And so that manual has been approved by the board from time to time.
Parts of it. I mean,
I believe the whole manual was once
no,
approved by the board.
I'm just saying, there are other sections which are in the subdivision code that were shared with the board as well.
Right.
That address some of the things
Other
that
issues.
other communities have in their quote-unquote responsible bidder ordinance.
I don't think it's in a thing called a responsible bidder ordinance, but it might be. So for instance, I know in Naperville, they do have the bonding stuff in their ordinance. But, you know, communities do it different ways. So here, they have a manual. The manual has a lot of stuff in it. There are other things that other communities have, which might be in other parts of your municipal code. That's all.
All right, let's, I'm ready to call the question here. Proceed.
Trustee Brigi?
This is to pass the ordinance itself.
That's the ordinance, as I recommend.
Trustee Brigi?
Wait, I'm not done. So I don't know why we're voting.
I think there's a vote on the floor.
Okay, but we're still talking.
No, there was a vote. Talking already stopped.
Trustee Husani?
Are we going with the
We're- yeah, we're vote- We started our vote.
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
This is too confusing for me to understand. We're passing it now with the ability to go back and amend,
No, no.
or look at the purchasing and
We're
vetting
gonna
process
work the purchasing order separately.
in a workshop.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Can I know who motioned and seconded?
Trustee Prigi and Trustee Husani.
Okay, and that can occur even though a discussion is still taking place.
No, we called the vote.
Or we weren't finished speaking.
Once they call the question, it cuts off.
So when they call a question, you need a second to call a question. What
And
happened
we have a
was,
second.
the mayor, we didn't. What we had was the mayor, nobody seconded. The mayor called the vote, called the question, nobody seconded, but then he said, call the vote, and the voting started. And once the voting started, discussion ends.
So you're saying there was no second?
There was no second on call.
Was there a motion and a second?
On the ordinance, yes.
Yeah.
Who made the motion?
Trustee Brigi made the motion, trustee Husani seconded.
That was for the motion.
Yeah,
In the
so we
beginning.
started.
That was the,
That was in the beginning.
They were not seconded because trustee wanted
No, but when we called, we called for the vote. We had a motion and a second.
So the mayor said, go ahead and start the voting, so we started the voting.
We need to finish the vote.
So just so we're understanding, the motion was to pass the ordinance?
Correct.
Yes.
which started, that was called before discussion.
So that's what we're reading.
So when you call the question, doesn't have to be a second to that?
There has to be a second.
No, so the rule is that if debate is going, and someone wants to end debate, there's a procedure for ending the debate. And the procedure is to move the question, which requires a motion and a second and a vote. I think maybe, I don't know.
That didn't happen.
That did not.
No,
That didn't happen.
that did not happen.
I called for the vote, and we had a motion and a second. The call for
Let me
question
just-
did not get a second.
I'm sorry, let me clarify this. When this was brought up, the agenda item was brought up, there was a motion and there was a second. In the middle of discussion, trustee Priggy called to question. Nobody seconded, so we continued to speak. Right now, the mayor called the question again. Nobody seconded. So right after that, he said, call the vote.
And I got a second.
No, you did not.
No, you did not.
Who seconded?
Nobody
Nobody
did.
seconded.
We just started
We
the
just
vote.
started voting, that's it.
So how is that allowed? Because I wasn't done.
I'm not sure that's
That is, you can check the video if you like.
You can check the video, that's what happened.
That's what happened in the beginning. At the beginning.
Okay, all right.
To pass it, but then we were in discussion.
In discussion.
And the mayor called the vote.
Did you, maybe he thought that the debate was over? I don't know.
I thought the debate was over,
Okay, I don't know.
Okay, well,
but we started voting.
you're telling me I can't ask my additional questions because voting started, but then you're also saying that you didn't do the motion in the second to then start the vote. You just called the vote.
We
No,
called
there
it.
is no motion and second to start the vote. There is no vote.
Well, to end discussion, or,
Right.
We don't vote to end
But if
discussion.
if the mayor, the chairman believes the discussion has ended and calls the roll, and then the roll begins to get called, and everyone has voted one way,
Everybody voted yay. We're just waiting on trustee Benko.
yes.
Thank you. I appreciate the dialogue and the concerns. And there should be nothing personal around that in the form of discussion. The 7A11, is that the next one?
yes.
Motion to waive competitive bidding and approve the 3-year contract with Alpha Building Maintenance Services, Inc. for contractual cleaning services in the amount not to exceed $69,540 for the first year, and authorize the village manager to execute the necessary documents. Requires a 2/3 vote of the corporate authorities.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing no discussion. Christie, call the
I
roll.
apologize,
Oh.
I pulled this off the consent agenda, so I do.
I don't believe it's on.
This is not on
It's
consent.
not on consent.
Oh,
This is last.
oh, I apologize. But yes, I do want to ask a
Oh.
few questions.
Okay, go ahead.
That's all right. Okay. So Alpha Building Maintenance, I understand that we currently have a contract with them. They clean the village hall, the police department, and all the public works facilities. They submitted a 3-year bid to essentially, they took part in our bid process. And so the recommendation before us here today is to not only waive competitive bidding, but to then give them another 3 years with the village. So when I was reviewing their bid packet that they submitted information on their experience, their references, but they also submitted a bunch of documents that were expired. Virtually all of the certifications that they submitted were expired. And then you look at they are based in the village of Bridgeview, and that expired in 2022. And you look at all their certifications, and it's not like they just expired, they expired years ago. So I asked about this, and I said, what's going on? I don't understand why we would re-up a contract to a company that's giving us expired certifications, and based off of the information that was given, may or may not be able to even operate in the state of Illinois, right? Because they have an expired business license. And I was provided with additional information. I guess they have re-upped their business license, but my concern is that if you are a business and you want to work with any village, you should put your best foot forward, right? You should bring your A game. And so I don't know if this was a mistake. I don't know if this, that they just, assumed that the contract would just be passed again. I'm not really sure. And so I'm wondering if, in getting the additional updated documents, that if the company was able to provide us with a response as to why they submitted virtually all expired documents, because I really, it's quite hard to waive competitive bidding for a company that is providing us with expired information. Because the way I see it, it's like a risk assessment. Like, can we take a risk with re-upping this company? You know, if we hadn't gotten the updated documents and we re-up this contract and then something happens based off of that expired certification, well, then we're liable. So, and again, I feel like a broken record, but we are trying to have a higher standard. We are trying to do business with companies that we do not have to worry about, and this is a concern. So, I guess I'll pose the question again. So, did Alpha Building Maintenance provide us with an explanation about why they submitted expired paperwork to us?
They made a mistake. And I'm not speaking for them, what they said was they made a mistake, or that's what they did. They made a mistake. And some of cleaning companies, for example, sometimes, and other small businesses, aren't always as sophisticated to responding to government procurement processes as sometimes others are. And we've had a gambit of cleaning companies, even since I've been here, from extremely high-end professionals that have television commercials on TV and things like that, and the service was quite poor. The reason I'm recommending them is both because they were the low proposal, but then in addition to that is because they've provided us just absolutely outstanding services. They've been very responsive to us, and in particular, they've been extremely responsive in the police department, which is our most difficult building to clean. They've really been great in doing that. And they are, and again, I hate saying that they're not as sophisticated with this sort of things. I don't want to say that in public. But sometimes these smaller companies do struggle with that a little bit more. And they've provided us, and I believe I sent the email earlier today with new certificates that they provided with us. The certificates were not required. It was just simply something that we asked, if you have something and can show us, it demonstrates that they've had people that have gone to continuing professional education. It's not necessarily that it's something we absolutely have and we absolutely have that it be current at that particular moment. It's great that it is current, and they did send us new ones that were current. But it's meant to demonstrate that they have staff that are continuing to be educated on the newest techniques.
Excuse me if I ask the obvious, and if I'm not aware, but what's the difference in them submitting a proposal and a bid? Can you clarify that? I mean,
Well, we have treated this as a professional service, and professional services are given proposals rather than bids, because with bids, you typically have to take the low bidder, or are under much more constraints to take the low bidder. As with proposals, it gives us a bit more latitude with what we get. And
Sorry, TJ, can you maybe use another mic that's near?
I'm sorry.
You're going in and out.
Am I going in and out?
Yeah.
Maybe this is better. So with bids, typically there's more onus on us to take the low bidder. With proposals, it gives us a little bit more latitude to try to make sure that we're selecting not just the low bidder, but the best bidder. And in this particular contract, this is an extremely important contract to the village, even pre-COVID. It's an extremely important service that we provide to the staff and to our facilities. And so we've tried to do a very good job in making sure that we get the best people. And so that's why in this case, we chose to do something a little bit outside of the norm. Some people bid this as a bid, and they just take the low bidder and they get what they pay for. And we probably could have bid it, and they maybe would have been low bidder.
so by our ordinance, this kind of contract has to be bidded? Is that what we're saying? It does not. So if they're the lowest proposal, and we didn't have to bid it, then why are we even having the discussion? Why didn't we just accept them on the basis of their proposal?
We went, that's what we're doing.
Yeah. But why are we waiving, why is the language in there that we're waiving competitive bidding?
That's been the direction of the village attorney, that we include that language, and that's what we did. It is we went out for
Correct.
4 groups walked through and looked at all our spaces and gave a proposal, and we selected it happens to be the lowest, proposal cost, but in addition, they are able to meet what we are looking for in a service. But in order to cover all the bases and everything, the village attorney has given us language, and we included it, and it's got a higher vote requirement than a simple majority.
Attorney Paul, can you address that? Why do we handle it in that manner?
I wish I could. I mean, I'm looking at the agenda memorandum. Are they not the low bidder? Are they not the low?
They are the low.
Low
Yeah,
proposal.
yeah, so all this discussion about,
But
they
that's
are
my
the low,
question.
they are the low proposal. So I think that in Illinois, the general rule is that if you're bidding a public works contract and the contract exceeds a certain dollar amount, you are to bid it. The Village of Hanover Park has higher standards in their ordinance, or in their purchasing manual. And in their purchasing manual, I think they bid out things that are more than public works
Yes.
contracts, even though services are generally not required to be bid. So and if I remember correctly, and I hope I do, because I don't have it in front of me, I think that there might be a provision in your code, or not in your code, in your purchasing manual, that does provide that if you don't bid it, even though under state law you don't have to, but I think under our purchasing manual you do, then you have to have the supermajority vote. Am
So
I
we can do
certain of that?
RFPs.
Am I certain of that sitting here right now?
Yeah.
I'm not certain of it, but I think that's the case.
So we could
Oh.
do this by just an RFP then, right?
Huh?
That's
Just-
what we did.
That's what we did.
Then why, and excuse me if I'm being redundant, I just don't understand why the whole issue of waiving, because I have a problem with waiving competitive bids
Right.
without good reason. So why do we even have that language in the agenda item to waive competitive bidding if there was never a request for bids put out? And it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, I don't remember being asked about this particular one, but I understand what the manager is saying, because I think she believes too that, or she believes.
The village attorney has given staff guidelines, and Sue and staff are regarding how to write a motion to make it a legal motion. We err on,
On being conservative.
we're more conservative and put this language on
Right.
more things. We don't
Yeah.
spend a lot of time analyzing it, because we just want to make sure that we're covered. So in this case, a 2/3 vote is required of the board. They were, request for proposals, this was the low qualified proposal, and we are recommending that this company.
So we have a higher bar because we're waiving the bid, but if it was just a request for proposal, an RFP, we wouldn't need the 2/3 vote, it would just be a simple majority. Is that correct?
Let me see if I can find that provision.
I mean, it's just a procedural thing, but it's got my brain kind of running in circles and I'm trying to figure out what's happening.
So under there's a vendor selection requirement, which is that D section, it's on page 4, and it says, over a dollar amount, which this is over that dollar amount, a purchase requisition form is required. These purchases shall be competitively bid unless it falls under an exception listed in the purchasing manual. I'm assuming there's no exception.
There is an exception, there's an exception for professional services.
Well, this is not professional services.
Well,
I'll tell you that, it is not professional services. Professional services is a well-known term, and cleaners of your village hall are not professional services.
So it needed to be you did.
Okay, all right, I'm good, I just wanted to.
Yeah, I think we're going to have some more clarity on this purchasing matter. It's overdue. We'll get there. Are we good?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's call the question. Are we done with discussion?
Trustee
Is that a yes?
Brady?
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Yep.
He just said, let's call to question, and then you called trustee Cree. You're saying, let's call to vote, right?
Yeah.
That's what you mean, yeah. Okay.
Trustee
You don't need
Brady?
to call the vote, I mean, you're asking the clerk to call the roll.
Right.
Call the roll, yes. Okay, because you said, let's call the question, and then I was confused.
Oh, I'm confusing.
Yeah.
Trustee Brady?
Still yes.
Good, thank you. Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Mayor Craig?
Aye.
Thank you.
7012, move to approve warrant 4/18/2024 in the amount of $321,554.09.
So moved.
We have a motion,
Second.
Thank
and we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
And Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7813, move to approve warrant paid in advance 3/27/2024 through 4/12/2024 in the amount of $775,339.90.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Brady? And Trustee Husani?
Yes.
Thank you. Move, 7814, move to approve February 2024 P cards in the amount of $33,988.38.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Christie, call the roll.
Trustee Porter?
Yes.
Trustee Kunkel?
Yes.
Trustee Bancole?
Yes.
Trustee Brady?
Yes.
Trustee Husani?
Yes.
And Trustee Gutierrez?
Yes.
Thank you. Village Managers Report, Juliana.
Included in your packet is the March 2024 monthly treasurer's report. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
That shows the end of the year.
No, this is for March 2024. March, 3rd.
Okay. I'm thinking back to the end of the year report that was in the update.
We reviewed the end of the year report several meetings ago. I think.
Yes, yes.
Questions?
Any questions of the board?
Great.
Village Clerk's report, Christie?
Just a few things. Thank you for a fabulous doggy extravaganza. We had over 70 dogs there, and our first year that it wasn't rained out. So we actually got to have everybody there and had all of our fun attendees. Thank you, Trustee Bancole, for coming and loving up on all those puppies. And then also, thank you to staff for a great Hanover Park Award ceremony. It was great to honor our youth and our businesses and all those who serve in our town. Thank you.
Very good. And Corporation Council report?
I have no report,
Thank you. Trustee reports, Trustee Husseini?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to wish happy Eid to all who celebrate, a happy Ramadan ending and 30 days of fasting and celebrated Eid. And I want to apologize to Juliana. This is the third year in a row that I've been saying I'm going to bring the sweets, and well, guess what? I didn't bring it this year either. So I know.
Christie's got you covered.
Huh?
Christie's got you covered.
Got the basket.
Well, that's not the sweet that you've been asking me about. So I know, well, there is one more year, maybe. And I wanted to understand what's happening with Country Donuts and the violations, and how does that work as the ordinance, first of all, to understand the ordinance that was violated, to have a business park the cars in the parking lot. Was it abandoned cars? Was it cars of employees who are working there for the night? I want to understand that a little bit. Who would you direct this to, Juliana, the question?
So the violation was noted by our inspector from Inspectional Services, and the section that they wrote the violation under is actually the zoning chapter, Chapter 110, Article 6, which is development standards, and it's a standard for off-street parking. Essentially, these vehicles were noted as they were not customer cars or employee cars or patrons that are principal to the business, and that they were there for extended periods of time.
Okay. So when we notice something like that, so we give the time to remove that, and there is a warning, kind of?
We typically will make notice of the violation by either email or verbally and let them know, and then we give time to be able to make those amendments immediately. But if they continue, then we write the notice of violation. Once we write the violation, which is actually the citation, the ticket, then that's given a date for adjudication.
So I'm sorry, I didn't follow you. So when we say this is what we noticed and it's a warning, how many days does a business have to?
Well, it depends on when they actually write the violation. But when we actually write the violation, which is the ticket, the physical piece of paper or that's then sent, and notified to the business, that lays out the reasons why the violation is written, what area of the code that's been violated, and that it also has a comment. It states on there that each day this violation occurs beyond the date of this citation, and that's the date that we give that to them, that shall be considered a separate violation subject to a new separate fine for each separate vehicle. That's actually written on the violation.
So how much is that fee? Is that in the ordinance set out, a fee per day violation per car?
There are, and most of the time it can be a range, but this is at the lowest range possible, that is per vehicle. And I know that I can't speak to what was there, but I can speak to what the violation was written for, which it was written for 15 vehicles, $25 per vehicle, that's 375 days. And then after the violation was given notice, there were 20 consecutive days after that violation that those cars remained. And that's how we come to $7,500.
And each day is a violation.
Correct.
And 15
Correct.
cars were parked? That's a lot. Yeah, can you come up?
I can show you there is no possible way there are 15 cars. I can guarantee you that.
When did
I
you-
drive by there all the time.
I mean, there is no way 15 cars are
And I've
parked
never
there.
seen more than 3 or 4
I mean-
How
cars.
many cars were there?
Literally 5 to 6 at the most. I mean, there is no possible way 16 cars were parked there.
I would say, I would agree. 5 to
So do we take evidence like pictures and stuff like that as to?
So during for adjudication, when we go before the adjudicator, our position as staff is to present any findings, evidence, or documentation that we have to support our writing of the violation. We recommend those, or we present those facts, and then in the adjudication process, the adjudicator makes the deciding factor of how much the fine and if the violation was
So the
done.
evidence was presented, like there were pictures or?
They have met for adjudication this past Tuesday, and there's a continuance to be heard again in 30 days.
What was the evidence was presented?
So he hasn't been fined yet? Is that what you're saying?
The case has been continued, and I would ask you as village attorney,
We can't hear you.
the case has been continued, it went to adjudication, and I would ask the village attorney for an opinion on whether this process is appropriate with somebody who's in an adjudication process right now, and whether this is appropriate to be having this discussion back and forth.
So so you're saying that the case is pending.
Correct.
He says the case is over and he owes.
8,000.
The case was
500.
continued for
Right.
30
Is
days
it-
for him
is
to
it
come
your
back.
understanding that it's over, or is it your understanding that it's pending?
He's
I mean-
penalized.
What I was told was I have to pay $8,500.
He was given 30
Because I-
days to come back and get with an attorney because he was not represented with an attorney. So the case has been continued for 30 days. It will be on the adjudication agenda for the judge to hear in 30 days.
On May
When is
21st.
that date?
May 21st.
Okay. Yeah, no,
In the middle of a case, I don't think, I would like you to provide the board with their role as to the process for this. I understand that,
I think the board can hear whatever he had to say. if
Correct.
They heard him, you know? And I do agree that if it's a pending case, it would be more prudent for the board not to get involved in the pending case. At some point, if the case is over and you want to talk more, that would be an appropriate thing. Yeah.
I know it's trustee Husseini's turn at the mic, but I just have a question. You have a license for 24-hour, right? You were previously.
We were, yes.
For 24-hour operation. And you didn't change that, and I don't want to adjudicate the case either, but you didn't change that requirement. You still can operate 24 hours anytime you decide to go back to that.
Yes, sir.
So then, if you have a license for 24 hours, it would seem that cars that are parked on that lot, if you've got 24-hour agreement to be there, then who's to say that those cars are there for whatever reason if you've got a 24-hour agreement to be open and to operate the business? That's, when you go to court, I would say take that information and see what happens with it. I've been hanging around my daughter too much, so.
If I may, this case is pending. If you want to have greater discussion about it, we can go into executive session and discuss it and come back. But it's a pending case. The adjudication, you really are not writing a check for $7,500 today. The adjudication, pending date on the 21st. You'll have an opportunity with your attorney to argue the case, and I think you may come out on a little better off than what you started with.
But then he's still
But I
out
don't
of
know.
attorney fees. He's still out of attorney fees for this thing if he moves forward. I mean,
So-
he's not gonna come out of this clean.
Mayor, can I speak?
Yeah, please.
We have codes and ordinances in the village. We have qualified professional staff that enforces those codes, and there is a process for us to state our case with our evidence before that judge, as well as the person in the recipient of the violation. That's in process right now. I would ask the board to understand that we come to court with evidence and reasoning and sections of the code, and without the full amount of information, I'd ask that you know that there are two sides of this case and what has happened. So
can
I
I
would
say
say that
something?
I'm happy to go into closed session and have a conversation, but I don't know that staff and the people that are here prepared for this
So-
conversation.
So I think what it is first and foremost, this is a pending case, and we have to respect the order that that court takes, and I believe we are out of order in speaking about it. However, there's nothing stopping us from going to court with him on the 21st. You can be there, you can listen, and you can talk to him outside of this, but I'd like for us to respect that. Given that, this is my favorite donut shop, so I'm rooting for you, and I know the cars that were there, because they're the cute little bugs he fixes.
Yes, but
They're adorable.
two.
There's two of them. So, but I believe that we have to respect the process. We really do.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think that Mr. Manon, I think that we were unaware that this was still a pending
Yeah.
case. I believe that that you had already been issued this
Yeah.
fine, and that the decision was made. And so I just want to say, and maybe just direct this to Juliana, we very much understand that we have qualified staff that carry out, the things within our ordinance. I think that there was a misunderstanding. I don't think we knew that this was still pending. And so, Mr. Manon, what am I trying to say? We would, we are unable to further this conversation, but we trust that the processes in place will allow you to come to a resolution in regards to this. And we will be sure to follow up once that case has come to a close.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks
Thank you
for coming.
staying.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you for staying late.
No.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Just last with my report, Mayor talked about the annual event and the participation of the liaisons and their committee members to be participating in the annual event. For all three events that I've been here on the board, two I attended at the annual events, but it's more like a mayor's roadshow, and it is something that Mayor Rodney Craig showed, and I'm just there. So there is no participation of trustees or a role to play, that we are representing our own committee and representing our own committee members or something, or giving awards, or some participation of trustees would be appreciated. That's my thing. I think you have leaders on your board and more capable of executing things. If that's what you're expecting, that a liaison should be more participating, then we should have a role as well to play in it.
Don't disagree.
Thank you.
When we had that in the past,
I know.
the event went on for 2 additional hours.
I know. You
So
mentioned
I
that.
think I was approached to say,
But
let's,
Board has changed around you, and then I think some reconsideration.
we're gonna do this till we get it right.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
that will be my report.
thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Gutierrez.
Yes. I was fortunate to attend the DuPage County NAACP Gala, and I was really happy to see how well Representative Hanover Park was there. And I want to congratulate Trustee Bancole, who was recognized by Congresswoman Delia Ramirez for her outstanding work. And Trustee Bancole, thank you for the work you do here. You bring out a lot of points that a lot of us miss sometimes, et cetera. So thank you for that. The awards dinner, I want to say thank you. Mayor, my daughter has not laughed so hard, so long. That was awesome for the soul. So thank you so much. I had talked that very evening, I spoke with our clerk, and we said, you know, maybe we can help out a little bit here. So we can help you out.
I think my suggestion was taken now.
So, yes. And I'd like for all of our members committee members to still get the invitations, because some of them didn't get them. Tuesday, we had the CIDC Women's Leaders event, and I want to thank Barry for his hard work in keeping us all organized. It was really well attended. Thank you, Trustee Porter and Trustee Bancole, for backing me up. We had quite a panel and a great, robust discussion, and we had delicious appetizers. It was just really a great event where I could see women speaking freely and lifting each other up, and it was one of those things that we talk about when we build community. That's what was happening there, and I was really pleasantly surprised. The Historic Committee will be meeting on April 23rd, and I'm so happy to hear from Anita that she has some items that she will be sharing with the Historic Committee, so thank you so much for that. We're currently working on a coloring book to give out at events. And then I like for us to consider our town hall structure. So I understand why it's put in place, because things can get heated and get out of control. But when folks come up here, when residents or business owners come here, they come to address us, looking at us to say, hey, what's going on? And we are being limited, and we're not allowed to respond. And I like for us to look at that, because I like the idea that for today, we moved it to our time period for speaking, but then we had someone here sitting for a very long time as well, which I like as well, but is it fair to that person? And so if we can find some kind of midpoint where we can still ask a question or something, because they're not just coming there to talk to you, they're addressing all of us, and they're looking at us, but we've been, we've been told not to say anything. And so we need to find a midpoint. And we understand that we're not going to solve the issue, but we reserve the right to ask for details, et cetera. And I don't think we'll solve the problem, but just to let them know that we're hearing them as well. And then,
Ms. Gutierrez, I apologize to interrupt in your report, but would you say that maybe that is something, that policy could maybe be brought before the board so that we can actually read it and review it? Is that maybe something that you would recommend?
yeah, I don't know if that's a written policy or if that's just
Before we
an
even get to
informal
that,
rule.
Can I make a comment on that? I agree with the policy, if it applies to all of us the same. If it applies to mayor separately, then mayor could talk to anybody whenever he wants and take as much as the time he wants. But when we try to say something, you cannot because that's the policy. That's what I disagree with. If the policy applies to everybody, I'm fine with it. That's the way it should be. People should say, talk, and we could do in our report, we could talk. I'm good with that. But if its policy is different for mayor and different for trustee, I disagree.
So I don't know if that's a policy.
I don't know, you'd have to ask
Yeah,
the village.
it is a policy, there is a policy about the
Town hall structure.
town hall, and I'll read it to you. Why don't you go ahead and I'll find it and then I'll read it to
Alrighty,
you.
okay. The other thing is, we approved water funding for, or like a little agreement that we have with the Park District. This is our third year, right? Where does that impact our water fund?
Well, yes and no. Yes, because we're not getting paid for the water, and the water's being used. So you're waiving the cost, and you're giving free water to the Park District. We've done it for several years in a
3
row,
years,
so it is a consistent waiver. So it's not like this year we don't get the funding for it, but we did every other year. It's been a consistent multi-year thing that the board's done. That being said, on the other side, the Park District waives their fees for our special events in their facilities. So when we do Cops Day, when they normally would charge for use of their facilities and their parks, and they don't charge us for those fees.
Would you agree that us waiving, what was it, 64,000 or something like that is equal to what they would have charged us for the use of their facilities?
I have not done that analysis.
Okay. I want to know, like, how much longer we're going to keep doing. I know, it's been 3 years, right, only? Or has it been longer?
It might have been longer, and they did request this year, because they come back every year, for a 4-year understanding for their budget planning processes, but I just put it, I mean, it's in their letter, but we just put it forth for the 1 year.
Okay. I thought it was 3 years, that there was COVID and there were issues that they were hitting hard times, and that's why. So I'm just
No, it
curious
was-
as to how, as we look, because at times have we supplemented the water fund with the general fund this year? No?
That's the municipal. that
Okay. All right.
We have not, but note that, I mean, we all know that we're going to issue bonds,
Right?
and we're going to, we have a lot of infrastructure work and
Right.
everything. Previous boards, this board has looked at it as an intergovernmental, waiver of fees. Didn't we just waive fees for St.
Ansgar's.
For their event? There's been other, both government and, nonprofits that the board has chosen. Each of those I bring to you to make a decision on. I don't we don't waive any fees, we don't approve those.
And last year when they asked for a larger amount, and we said, no, we'll waive this much. I remember that. They asked for a larger amount than what it was.
Last year,
The year before?
last year you asked the Park District what their budget gap was versus just the cost of water and filling it all summer, or refilling it, or filling in the initial. You asked them what their budget, what gap was, and then you approved that amount. This year, they said they asked for the same amount,
All
so.
right. So I think it's worth it, we think about this a little bit more, if this is one we want to do, and if indeed the cost of us doing business with them is almost equal, then I understand that, but if it's not, that's something I'm concerned about. And then finally, we really do need to, we're playing Carmen Sandiego with these businesses, right? And so now I'm very worried every time that we get one. I'm sitting there and I'm researching these companies, and I feel like we do need to look at the vetting process. The one today, is getting sued. Another one is not giving us proper documentation, and we were just going to okay it. It makes us look sloppy, and so I'm looking forward to the time when we sit down and we clean this up, because we have to do right by our residents. And then, did you find that?
I did.
All right.
So it's in the rules of the village board. These are the rules of order and procedures of the village board of Hanover Park, which were effective March 6, 2008, updated December 20th of 2012, and then again on May 1 of 2013. And on page 8, there's number 11, which is public comment. It's about 1 page long, so I'll just read it to you. It says, members of the general public may address the corporate authorities with concerns or comments regarding issues that are relevant to village business. So that's a limitation right there.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yes, members of the
Is your
general,
mic on?
pardon?
Your microphone on?
It is.
Oh.
Am I not speaking into it? I'll get closer. It's on page 8, number 11. It says, members of the general public may address the corporate authorities with concerns or comments regarding issues that are relevant to village business. Issues that are not relevant to village business shall not be allowed. No public comment shall be heard on behalf of or against any candidate for public office. B, members of the public shall address the board in the following order. Presentations scheduled with the village manager and set forth on the agenda. After the village board discussions on an agenda item, and at the discretion of the presiding officer, public discussion may be allowed on an agenda item, subject to the same limits as the town hall session. Presentations at the town hall session of the agenda by members of the public who have signed the request to speak form prior to commenting at the meeting. Individuals who have not registered or have already spoken may be allowed to speak at the discretion of the presiding officer during the town hall session after all who have registered have completed speaking. C, a person addressing the board during town hall session is allowed 5 minutes to present their comments. D, all members of the public addressing the board shall at all times maintain proper decorum in accordance with the provisions of these procedures. E, all public comment shall be addressed to the board as a whole, and no comments shall be addressed to an individual member of the board, village staff, or other members of the public. F, there shall be no debate on any matter raised during public comment. The corporate authorities may, however, refer any matter of public comment to the village manager, the village staff, an appropriate agency for review, or may place the matter on a subsequent agenda for discussion. no final action may be had on any matter of public comment or concern which requires an ordinance resolution or a written contract which has the effect of approving any expenditure or funds. The corporate authorities may, however, direct that any matter raised be set for a future agenda, including the preparation of ordinances, resolutions, or other documents for consideration at such time. So that is
Thank you.
the rules of the board concerning public comment.
Can you clarify what the word debate means in that?
Yeah, I think it really means that you have a discussion among yourselves and all that other stuff, and you have whatever you do. I know you do that. I've seen it done, but it says you're not to do that.
So between ourselves and between the person that is making the comment on the microphone?
Yeah, or even I think among yourselves.
But you can
I think-
relegate.
I'll read it again, maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right.
No, I thought, let me just see what it said again.
We could defer it to a future meeting. on the
Well-
agenda.
Should be there, note on any matters raised during the public meeting.
Oh, you got it there?
Yeah.
Which letter is it?
F.
Oh. There shall be no debate on any matters raised during public comment, period. So basically, the idea is you can hear them, you listen to them, you can decide to put it on another agenda, you know.
Can you decide to speak about it
So
during
you
your
you
time?
actually sort of relax that.
Can it be moved like we did today to a trustee report? There's nothing stopping that from happening in here.
It's all good.
So there shall be no debate on any matter raised during public comment. So I guess a trustee could say something about it, that's at trustee reports. It's not a debate, they're not debating anybody, so they can make a comment.
And make a request to put it on the agenda.
Thank you.
And I really think that the purpose of it is to kind of protect the board.
So I just want to say then that is for corporate counsel. That goes across the board. So if anything, then it gets referred to staff member, right?
Yeah, we've
Well,
done
you can refer it. You
Right,
have-
if anything, as I said. But sometimes, just like we've done our own questioning about it, I know that the mayor has also addressed these issues from the dais. And so I think we just need to, as trustee Husani was saying, we have to keep it uniform across the board.
And that's what the policy is saying.
I agree.
Well, yeah. I'm fine with that.
Okay, I'm done with my report.
So if we want to discuss, we can ask, put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Are we in filing agreement? Trustee Gutierrez, are you finished?
Yes, she's done.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm done.
All right, trustee Porter?
Thank you. Just one more comment on that. We had an individual that would kind of dominate our town hall sessions and talk
Right.
about issues that had nothing to do with village board.
There's other rules about that. Do you want to hear those?
No, that's about people that would attack
I can email you
a
all.
particular candidate,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I don't want,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not that important. I don't want to, I'm just saying that there were comments that were made during the town hall sessions by an individual that seemed to be out of the realm of
Not
what
pertinent
should have been
village.
allowed, yeah.
Yeah.
And, okay, well, so anyway, I don't want to belabor that point. I do want to, I asked our Director of Economic Development to prepare some information for us on the cannabis operation that is in development, and also any further information on applications or other interests by parties. And I'd like to ask for that information. She agreed that she would be able to present that to us.
Sure. So I did reach out to the applicants, We have not received a building permit application yet for the remodel. I reached out to them to find out about their timeline. They indicated that they had been working on finalizing their lease, their MEPs are being done, their architects are preparing the plans. They expect to submit by the end of this month. And once they have submitted that, our inspection services would review it. Once they have the building permit, it's going to take them 4 to 5 months for the remodel to be completed. And so they're still hopeful that they'll be able to open and operate before the end of the year. But it'll take them 4 to 5 months for the remodel, but they have not submitted for a building permit yet.
Oh, thank you. And in terms of any other interest by any other parties, has there been any?
There was an inquiry, but the location was such that it was within the criteria that said it should not be within so many feet of a school, et cetera, and it was within that, so they were not able to move forward.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your timeliness in
problem.
getting that back. I know it's kind of short notice, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. I want to congratulate the CIDC for the wonderful event that they had this week, the Women's Conference. It was very enlightening and very encouraging to see those powerful women up talking about issues as it relates to women in leadership. Very well done, very well organized, and the food was excellent, and so just want to give kudos.
Oh my God, I forgot to tell you guys something. We're having a luau on May 21st. You can't miss this. The CIDC is outdoing themselves. We're having a luau. What? No, we're having it here. I'm sorry, not in Hawaii. And we're going to have, it's a tiki event. I will send out the flyer. You can't miss this, but you have to RSVP. We're going to have a luau dancers. It's a big deal. I won't take up any more of your time, but look for your email for more information. Go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, it was a very well organized, and the attendance was really good at the event. I think all of the chairs, all of the tables and all the chairs were completely full. So congratulations on doing that.
May 21st? Did you say May 21st?
Yes.
Oh, that's your CIDC meeting. I will be there. I apologize for missing this week. That happens to me from time to time.
I also wanted to make a comment on the water bill and the offset with the Park District. I understand the concern, but I would just like to remind the board members that the Park District, we have the Kids at Hope, we have the movies in the park, Cops Day. We do quite a few events that utilize Park District facilities, and so we have that agreement that, you know, we have waived those fees as they have waived our fees. And even if it's not a zero-sum game in terms of the fees, I think that the relationship that we have with the Park District is important to us because for, you know, for, I don't want to say for better or worse, but they are a representation of Hanover Park. And so if waiving those water fees allows them to provide a community swimming pool to our residents, that everybody, our residents all are able to take advantage of and benefit from, I would like to see us to not go back on that longstanding agreement, at least for the last few years that we've had to waive that fee, because we're all aware of the financial difficulties that the Park District is facing. You know, they just recently got a bond referendum passed in the last election, and they're trying to right their ship. So I would like for us to remain in a posture of cooperation with them moving forward. And there might be other ways that we can look into our budget and offset any costs that are associated with that. I raised the issue, and it was raised with the gentleman that was here earlier, about the parking lot and the concern with there not being a a method for paying for long-term parking. And when I found out in the email that there is a provision for paying for 14 days, then to me that sounded like just a software issue. If you can write a program that allows you to pay for 14 days, then you should be able to write a software program that allows you to pay for 30 days. I mean, it's really, you know, a programming issue. To my uneducated, you know, I'm not a software programmer or anything, but just from my observation, that would seem to be a simple fix. And even if there's only a few individuals in town that would take advantage of it, I think we'd be surprised at how many people might want to. But if it's not going to have an impact on revenue generation. In fact, it gives you that money up front when they pay for it, you know, so we're not, we can more accurately predict what the revenue is going to be, at least from those sources. So I know that they said that the company that does that says that that's the capacity, that's as much as they can do, is 14 days. And I think maybe if that's the case, we should maybe look for a company that has the ability to write the program that addresses what seems to be the will of the board, to allow individuals that want to pay for a monthly pass. Because believe me, it's a hassle, and I know you can do it from your phone, and I've commuted paying the you know, the bill from the phone, but there's a surcharge when you do that, and if I'm remembering correctly, you don't do that for free. There's a surcharge, so that raises the cost of that daily ticket by whatever that surcharge is, which increases the cost of that commute. So I would like to have a reasonable response to why that program can't be adjusted and written from 14 days to accommodate those that would want to pay for, you know, for 30 days. It seems to me like a software fix, and maybe I'm not understanding something here, but it seems like a relatively easy fix. So
I thought he wanted
Mayor,
to pay
I'd
for a
be
year.
happy to answer trustee Porter's question.
thank you.
Yeah.
You what?
I'd be
Yeah,
happy to
thanks.
hear your
Yeah,
answer.
go ahead.
Your comment?
Go ahead. Okay, so I'm just gonna give a little history, just so you know how we got to this part. A year ago, I think it was somewhere along the line, the finance director relayed during a treasurer's report that the commuter parking lot fund was not doing well, that we weren't spending, that we're under budget, that the general fund is, you know, holding that fund up right now. We've lent, that fund has lent money. The village board directed staff to go and find a solution and a recommendation for how to address the commuter parking lot. And is there a way for that fund and the processes and reworking it to be more efficient, et cetera. During the budget, we came and presented the board with a recommendation or a program to pay by plate instead of pay by space. So we had a discussion, it was a lengthy discussion, the board liked the program, which is the program, you know, is this program, and directed staff to go forward. So we put in the budget, and the board approved the budget to buy the software to move to pay by plate and the equipment that needs to go in the police cars to read those plates. In January, we brought to the board the pay by plate contract, which the board approved, as well as the board approved a modification passed an ordinance that changed the code to say we would no longer allow for monthly and annual passes, that we were going strictly and only to daily parking. So, and then since January, we've purchased the equipment, we've installed it on the vehicles, we began training this week the staff that will be utilizing the software, and the software allows for up to 14 daily permits to be bought. So this isn't like a 14-day pass or a 2-week pass. It is allowing somebody to buy 14 one-day passes at a time. When we asked the company why there were 14, they've said since there's 3 different software programs that are integrated together. So there's the payment process software, there's the LPR reading software that's on the cars, and then there's the DACRA program, which is the ticketing program. If somebody didn't pay, then, and their license plate comes up and they didn't pay, then it goes into the ticketing software. So it's all integrated. So not all companies can do that. I mean, we had to pick a software that could integrate and make this as efficient as possible. So the company came back. We did go back and ask after the gentleman was here at the last meeting, could they do monthly passes? And they said that from their experience in other communities, when you have somebody buy more than 14 days in a row, it gets complicated and they're confused, and it just works from their business model as efficiently with a 14-day max. They said they've had other inquiries and they will look at it, and so my email to all of you was, we will keep an eye on this and see if there's another way. We've also asked if there's a way that we can possibly take, and if somebody wanted to buy a whole month and do like a load into the software, into the system where the readers, the license plates are. But again, we just started training this week, and we don't know the answer to that question, like whether there's a backdoor way of loading a license plate for a longer period of time. And what we don't want to do is say we're going to do that, hoping that it's able to do it, and then have individuals get tickets and then have to, back off the ticket and refund and do all that. So it asked the board to allow us to continue to go through the process, let us finish integration. It's going live on June 1st. It's going in the highlighter tomorrow. The highlighter goes out or to the printer, and there's a whole article, and it's been on the website for a month, I think, trying to inform people. And then as we get familiar with the software and we understand if there's a workaround, then at a later date, we can bring to the board, because you're going to have to change the ordinance again, because right now it says you can only sell one, by the day. I will say, as far as the service fee, we have a service fee on anytime somebody uses a credit card, whether it's a daily fee or a monthly fee, there's going to be a service fee that's built into that permit cost, because we have that cost to deliver the service. The other thing is that when people had the benefit of the monthly and the yearly passes before was that they got preferred parking. So they got to park closer to the station. They had a hanger on their car. That's gone away. So you can park, a commuter, everybody can park, first come, first serve, basically. You come, you park in a spot, there's not numbers. You can park anywhere. If you're early, you get closer to the station. There's no charge for Sundays. You can park 24 hours. If you want to buy 14 daily passes, they're 24 hours. You can park there for 14 days, and you're not going to get a ticket. And the police department, now it's going to be much more efficient. It takes 2 people, however long, couple hours a day to go and check all of those things, and that's with the lower number of parkers. Now it's going to be 15 minutes. 15 minutes, drive up and down the aisle. The LPR is going to read the plates. It's going to go into the system, and that individual can go on to do something else with, that's work for the village or in the police department, however assigned. So I think that we really believe that this is going to be an efficient program. Our hope is that the residents find it convenient to do it on the app and get there 14 days at a time. They're just not going to be able. So we will continue to work on trying to find that solution for a month or a year. We just aren't able to do it right now. We have to get used to the system. We have to put it in place. We have to get staff trained. We have to understand the software and how it's used to see whether there's that capability.
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation, and that makes perfectly good sense. I don't think that I was asking for an immediate solution, because I know it is a system, and that, you know, it's not something that's going to be solved tomorrow, next week, or even next month, especially when we're just implementing a new system. But sometimes with any system, there are unintended consequences, and I think that those people who would benefit from the 14-day or 30-day thing could receive some benefit. And I'm simply asking, to what you answered, can we ask the software company, is it feasible at some point down the line, can we make the adjustment so that those persons who would like to purchase a long-term parking situation, if they can be accommodated? Again, you know, I'm not a software expert, but I do know that it takes time, especially when we're implementing a new system, so I get that. And I know that it's not a quick turnaround, but at least if that's on the radar, if it's being talked about, and you mentioned that, you know, there is some discussion on how they might be able to accommodate those individuals. That's all I'm asking, is that we just don't dismiss it out of hand and say, you know, that's not going to happen. There's no way we can even consider that. But the consideration is what I'm looking for. And I think that's what the gentleman was looking for, is a consideration. You know, we are making the changes, and the board did approve those changes, and we were all here when that happened. But, you know, sometimes the leg bone's connected to the hip bone, and, you know, there's, you know, you fix one thing and something else gets out of kilter. So, you know, we have to take that into consideration. So thank you for that very detailed explanation. I have no problems with anything that you said. Just am pleased to hear that at least there's some consideration being made for accommodating those people who would benefit or would like to have a longer term parking situation. That, you know, is what I wanted to say.
Anything else?
No, that concludes my report.
I thought you'd say something about NAACP dinner, which I thought was outstanding.
I wasn't there.
Table. Huh? Oh, that's right, you weren't there. In my own mind, Eva was there, daughter was there, and I thought it was a pretty marvelous dinner. I thought we had a special.
I'm sure Trustee Bancole will address that.
I can defer that to Trustee Bancole when it's her turn. Trustee Conkle.
Yeah, I have no report, but I have a comment. Oh, somebody woke their head up. Comments are for TJ, the brush pickup. I've had people from numerous areas of town that have said you guys have been doing a tremendous job. So they just wanted to make you aware that you guys are doing a good job. That's all I have.
I did want to mention, TJ, you know, they're out of the yard waste stickers at some of the locations around town, so people aren't able to put their bags of yard waste, yours truly included, out on the curb. So they said they didn't receive their delivery at Tony's, and I don't know where else they're available, but they said they haven't received the last delivery, they said, for a few weeks. So I don't know what's going on with that.
Might be high demand right now. I'll find out.
Very good. Trustee Bancole.
Thank you. I too have attended several events, many of those that have already been mentioned, but I'll quickly just say thank you so much to Clerk Merrill for Doggy Extravaganza. Thank you to the board members who were able to attend the NAACP gala. It was a really, it's always a great event, but it was especially meaningful to be honored by Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. Thank you to Shubra for the role that she played with the very successful Bartlett Area Chamber Breakfast that just occurred at the Bartlett Park District. Thank you to Sue Krauser and our staff for putting on an incredible awards dinner. It's always such it's always such a great event. So thank you for that. And yesterday night I was able to attend represent the village at the Kiwanis Club of Streamwood. They have Streamwood in their name, but they also serve Hanover Park and Bartlett. And they're a great organization. It's their 25th anniversary. Did just want to give a reminder that our Arbor Day event is coming up on Friday, April 26th. It'll be at Ann Fox. And I understand that we are honoring a really great leader in this community, Mary Kay Prusnick. And I believe we're still securing a time, but once that is locked in, be able to share that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Curry.
Just one thing, I won't be at the next meeting this month, because that would be my daughter's wedding rehearsal.
Oh,
I'll be missing that.
congratulations.
I was told I didn't have a choice.
Good choice.
And
Go to
Trustee
the
Gutierrez,
rehearsal.
you're not going to be here either?
May 2nd.
Okay. With that, there is no executive session. And without ado, a call for an adjournment. With all in favor?
I need a motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Now.
Thank you. We are adjourned.